I'm not a slave to Israel, okay? We're not slaves to a genocidal regime. What kind of disgusting allegation is that? If the American people want their resources to remain within the United States to benefit the American people, why am I working and paying taxes for a disgusting genocidal regime? I can't stand Israel. I can't. And I don't mind saying that out loud. Watching people being maimed, slaughtered.
All right, Patriots, buckle up. We're diving headfirst into a transcript that pulled back the curtain on something truly infuriating: the endless funnel of your hard-earned tax dollars to foreign nations, specifically Israel. We're going to dissect the arguments, call out the blatant gaslighting, and expose the tactics used to silence anyone who dares to question this arrangement. Get ready to have your outrage validated, because what we're about to hear should make every American citizen absolutely furious. It's time to talk about who our politicians really work for.
Mutilated, watching Israeli prison guards and IDF soldiers gang rape prisoners. Trump's former envoy to Venezuela and Iran, Elliot Abrams, recently expressed deep concern. He is very much worried that the shifting public opinion in the United States toward Israel will threaten a boatload of American taxpayer dollars being funneled to Israel. Let's take a look.
Well, how do you assess the future of the U.S.-Israel bilateral security partnership? It's certainly in some ways at an all-time high, or relatively speaking right now, but there's also headwinds.
It's a very important question because you have new opposition to Israel and U.S.-Israel relations and the U.S.-Israel alliance in both parties now that you didn't have last time we went through this exercise.
Now, he's going to blame anti-Semites for the growing criticism of Israel in just a moment. But before we get to that, Cenk, your 2 cents?
He's going to blame anti-Semites. Of course he is. So as you're going to see here, Israel wants to take another $100 billion off of us. And so their strategy is, if anyone disagrees, let's just smear them. Let's call them anti-Semites and ruin their life, right?
Yeah, cheapen that label, and it doesn't work anymore, so congratulations.
Did you hear that? Cheapen that label. That's what they said. That isn't a tactic. It's a worn-out, desperate play for the playbook of those who have no real argument. For decades, if you dare to question a single dime going overseas, if you dare to suggest that American tax dollars should, stay in America to maybe, fix our roads, maybe our schools, take care of our healthcare, you were immediately branded an anti-Semite. It's the ultimate intellectual bullshit, isn't it? It shuts down all debates. It's like a political get-out-of-jail-free card for anyone who wants to deflect from legitimate criticism. But here's the thing. People are waking up. That label doesn't carry the same weight it used to, because it's been so grossly overused and weaponized against anyone who doesn't fall in line. When you scream anti-Semite at anyone who asks why we're sending billions of dollars abroad, while our own veterans are homeless, our own infrastructure is crumbling, you don't expose hatred, you expose your own weakness. You reveal that you don't have a logical defense for your actions. So you resort to character assassination. It's an insult to actual victims of anti-Semite. By the way and the talk that you throw at that term around so casually, it dilutes the very real danger of genuine hatred. But for these folks, it's just a tool, a rhetoric weapon to silence dissent and keep the money flowing. Well, guess what? The American people are tired of being silenced. We're not buying it anymore. We're not gonna just follow the line. We're going to keep asking the tough questions, and we're not going to be intimidated by cheap labels.
Yeah, and so, but also another thing that's interesting there is the interesting pretending about how at some point they might stop robbing us. Okay, so, I'm sorry, Elliot Abrams, was that anti-Semitic? So when Israel already took 300 billion from us, what was that? What, because we owed them? Why did we owe them? Hey, why don't you give us the 300 billion back? How about that?
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, go ahead.
So the current 10-year Memorandum of Understanding, MOU as it's referred to, between Israel and the United States gives Israel around $3.8 billion a year, the top recipient of foreign aid, by the way, from the United States. And it's in the form of defense aid, but it expires pretty soon. In 2028, it'll be expiring. So this figure, by the way, I should note, does not include the additional tens of billions of dollars that the United States has funneled to Israel to commit its atrocities in the Middle East since October 7th. And now Israel is reportedly looking to sign a 20-year 2-decade-long MOU with America, and Israeli officials hope the next package will include even more in annual assistance.
Of course.
I mean, it's just, they disgust me beyond words. By the way, the genocide in Gaza is ongoing. In fact, just yesterday, I shared a video that was posted by Dropsite News featuring a child who was shot in the head by IDF forces. So
Terrorists.
They're terrorists. They're terrorists that we're funding. So I don't want to hear a damn word about, ooh, the global threat of terror from right-wingers who want to drag the United States into more wars paid for by American taxpayers. Anyway, unsurprisingly, that plan for a 20-year MOU has the backing of people like Senator Lindsey Graham, which is the most unsurprising thing in the world, who told the Jerusalem Post the following. Some in Israel, I think including Prime Minister Netanyahu, think these days that Israel should downgrade the next MOU when it comes to the dependence on the United States. Big mistake. By the way, that's a lie. They don't think that. Netanyahu is pushing for a 20-year MOU and he wants more money. Like, why are you lying?
Because he's Lindsey Graham and he works for the Israelis.
Right, that's true. He says, big mistake. The day it is seen in Washington that you really don't need us is a big mistake. The people you're trying to please will never be pleased. And it seems as though Elliot Abrams, a neocon, of course, and a major supporter of Israel, is on the same page. But during this conversation with the Jewish Institute for National Security of America, he argued that anti-Semitism could absolutely derail a new MOU guaranteeing more years of US military aid for Israel. Take a look.
It really should be discussed. That's going to happen under President Trump. And it's going to happen in this new context of both criticisms of the alliance in a serious way and suggestions in a serious way, and a kind of disgusting anti-Semitism on the left and right that was not part of the background to the last round.
And look, while he is openly expressing concern about critics of Israel on the right and the left and how it could potentially derail a new MOU, in reality, he really doesn't think that the dissent is strong enough to make a real difference. Let's go to graphic 4 here, where he says that Trump has been insistent that he and he alone defines what MAGA means. I don't think the problem will be the Trump administration or the MAGA voters, who in all polls are strongly supportive of Israel. It will be the Democrats whose representatives in Congress have cast votes in the last 2 years that suggest limiting aid to Israel.
Wow. Let's just marinate in that statement for a second. MAGA voters, strongly supportive of Israel, and the Democrats are the problem because they're suggesting limited aid. This is a fascinating peek behind the curtain of political manipulation, folks. It almost sounds like a confession, doesn't it? The implication here is clear. The establishment, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, believes it has the MAGA base locked down. They see Trump's base as a reliable bloc that will follow the leader, even when it comes to funneling billions of dollars to a foreign nation. It's a cynical view, but perhaps in some cases, a sadly accurate one. Trump defines what MAGA means, they say. And if Trump says support Israel, then by golly, that's what MAGA does. But then they pivot to the Democrats, lamenting that they are actually showing some backbone, some willingness to question the status quo. It's almost laughable, isn't it? The very people these pundits usually demonize are suddenly the ones causing problems for their agenda of endless foreign aid. It exposes the hypocrisy of the entire system. It's not about party lines. It's about who is willing to put American interests first. It's who is beholden to foreign lobbies. This isn't about being pro-Democrat or anti-Republican. It's about being pro-America. If even a segment of the Democratic Party is starting to say, hey, maybe we should focus on our country, then that's a crack in the wall. That's a sign that the tide is turning. And the American people, regardless of political affiliation, are starting to demand accountability for where their tax dollars go. This is a battle for American sovereignty, plain and simple.
I want to be clear, there is a big fracture among Trump's base. Yes, there are the cucks, for lack of a better word, people like Cat Turd, for instance, who go along with anything and everything Trump does. But there is a growing faction of Trump's base that sees what's happening for what it is, that our resources are being funneled to a foreign country that has undue influence over our system of government, over our politicians, and basically to the detriment of the American people. And to those people, I want to applaud them, I want to laud them, because waking up to this reality is really important for us to get our country back. We do not live in a sovereign country. We live in a country that is ruled and controlled and manipulated by the nation state of Israel. And I think that's wrong.
I actually think that that's the best compliment the Democratic Party has gotten in a long, long time.
Agreed.
Saying, oh, they're harder to control than MAGA is. You just control Trump and Trump tells them what MAGA is, and then they all follow along like lemmings and serve us instead of America, right? So thank you for the confession, we appreciate it. So now to the core of the issue. He says, so for the Memorandum of Understanding, the last one was 10 years long, so 3.8 over 10 years, obviously 38 billion, right? They're saying they want more this time. So it's unclear if it's going to be 4 billion, 5 billion, or maybe even more. So probably though in that ballpark, so that since it's over 20 years, that's 80 to 100 billion dollars. I would be shocked if they didn't ask for at least 100, okay? So what Elliot Abrams is saying is both on the left and the right, so the whole country, you're all disgusting anti-Semites unless you give Israel $100 billion. Like the nerve of that is really amazing. But since almost all of national media says the same thing, they feel empowered and emboldened to say outrageous things like this. Take out Israel, put in any other country, and if they said America owes Bulgaria $100 billion, otherwise you're all racist against Bulgarians, everyone would laugh their ass off. And you'd be escorted from the building and then probably to a mental asylum, right? Any other country do that game any way you like. You could say Canada, you could say Portugal, it doesn't matter. But they have this trick, yes, it's a trick, but to be fair to them, they really, a lot of them, most of them don't know it's a trick. They really believe it. Like they think, well, if you don't give me all your money, you hate Jews. You have to give me all your money. You had to give me 300 billion. And again, any other country, if France said, you owe me $300 billion, otherwise you're racist against the French, we'd escort them to an asylum, right? So here he's like, no, I demand it, otherwise all Americans are anti-Semites.
Okay, great,
Okay,
we're
great.
anti-Semites then.
Okay, then piss off,
Then
get out of here.
anti-Semitism means absolutely
why are
nothing.
you here?
I'm not a slave to Israel, okay? We're not slaves to a genocidal regime. And I mean, what kind of disgusting, like allegation is that if the American people want their resources to remain within the United States to benefit the American people, why am I working and paying taxes for a disgusting genocidal regime? I can't stand Israel, I can't. And I don't mind saying that out loud. Watching people being maimed, slaughtered, mutilated, watching Israeli prison guards and IDF soldiers gang rape prisoners. That's who they are. They're disgusting people, and I don't mind saying it. By the way, 53% of Republicans, according to a recent YouGov poll, under 45, and 42% of all Republicans say that the United States should not renew the MOU, while just 24% want it renewed.
Because who wants to be robbed?
Who wants to be a slave
Why
to a
don't
foreign
we
country?
keep the $100 billion?
Yeah.
Why are you guys not anti-American racists for not giving us $100 billion? Why don't we get some of it? No, take. Hey, Elliot, if the whole country is anti-Semitic, why don't you leave? Like, and I'm just like, wouldn't you be worried? Oh my God, everybody's an anti-Semite. Oh, you didn't give me your wallet. Oh, he didn't give me his wallet. What an anti-Semite. Well, then go to Israel where there's no anti-Semites, and then you could keep your own money, right? And everybody's fine. Nope, he's got to stay here. He's got to start wars for Israel. And in the case of Elliot Abrams, it is very literal. He was one of the top neocons that drove us to go into Iraq. And the Israeli prime minister at the time said Iraq was their #1 enemy, and we took him out for Israel, which Elliot loves, because Elliot loves Israel, not America. By the way, that sick son of a bitch was also part of the Iran-Contra affair. You know who else was part of the Iran-Contra affair? Israeli intelligence. And who was at the very middle of the Iran-Contra affair? Jeffrey Epstein. So there are a number of people inside this country that do not work for America. They work for Israel, and their whole job is to take as much money off of us as they possibly can. We spent $8 trillion on the global war on terror. That was a global war on Israel's enemies. So the 100 billion MOU is chump change to them. They're like, we got these suckers to spend trillions murdering our Muslim neighbors so we can take more of their land.
Yeah, and don't forget the American soldiers who died as a result of that. Final thing I'll say about this, and then we'll move on to Dan Bongino. Don Bacon is upset that AIPAC Tracker has uncovered how much money he has accepted from the Israel lobby. He calls it anti-Semitic, to which I say, fry bitch. Okay, like you don't like it, don't accept the money. It's not anti-Semitic for the American people to know who funds you, who pays for you to dance for them like a little prostitute.
So Don Bacon is saying, if you point out the fact that I take at least 1.3 million from the Israeli lobby, then you're an anti-Semite. But brother, you took the money. It's a literal fact. And he's like, no, I am such a holy and moral person that even though I took the money from Israel, millions and millions of dollars, and I vote with them every single time like a dog, I secretly represent the people of Nebraska. And I'm, it's just that I happen to love Israel so much, unconnected to the millions of dollars. Hey, Don, we're not idiots like mainstream media reporters. They're like, oh, okay, that's good, yeah, he loves America. He just happens to believe that we should give all of our money to Israel. No, you're a crook, you're corrupt. And by the way, I did a post on it today. Almost all of the right wing agrees. Don Bacon is a piece of crap who works for a foreign government and is a traitor to America. But to be fair to him, almost 94% of Congress gets money from the Israeli lobby. And if you point out that fact, oh, you hate Jews. Brother, we didn't say anything about Jews. You stop driving hatred towards Jewish Americans. It isn't the Jews, it's you, Elliot Abrams. You're the problem, you're the disgusting person who wants to rob us and who got us into nonstop trouble. Don't blame it on other Jews, we didn't say them, we said you. Get the hell out of our country, Elliot Abrams. You've done enough damage already.
Boom, there it is, the truth laid bare. This isn't about an entire religious group. It's about specific individuals and powerful lobbyists who manipulate our political system for their own gain, often at Americans' expense. The speaker here is absolutely spot on. They're calling out the real culprits, the puppet masters, the architects of politics that drain our treasury and drag us into endless conflicts. This distinction is critical, folks. When we talk about foreign influence, when we talk about the immense power of lobbyists, we are not talking about everyday Jewish Americans. We are talking about political operators, neocons, and special interest groups who exploit the very real history of anti-Semitism to shield themselves from legitimate criticism. It's a disgusting tactic, and it needs to be called out every single time. These are the people who scream anti-Semite when you question sending another $100 billion to Israel, while simultaneously ignoring the plight of Americans who are struggling right here at home. They are the ones who put the interests of a foreign nation above the interests of the United States, and then have the gall to accuse us of hating, having hatred, or a horrible feeling towards Israel. Elliot Abrams, and others like him have a track record. They've been instrumental in pushing us into wars, in funneling our resources abroad and undermining American sovereignty for decades. They've done enough damage. It's time for them to pack their bags, metaphorically speaking, of course, and for America to reclaim its own destiny. We need to elect leaders who work for us, not for foreign powers or their well-funded lobbyists. It's time to put America first, without one little bit of apology.
And you know what that son of a bitch said? He's like, well, I think it's a mistake to not, go for a longer period of time. But, when the 20-year MOU is up, it'll be 2048. And at that point, we could begin to discuss whether we should, not get any more funding from America.
I'll be 60, by the way.
2048?
60.
2048. They are debating whether they should rob us through 2048 or past 2048. I say end it now, not one more dollar for Israel, not one more dollar of that robbery.
All right, patriots, if your blood isn't boiling right now, you haven't been listening. We've just exposed the cynical tactics, the blatant lies, and the outright manipulation used to funnel billions of taxpayers' dollars from Americans away from your communities and into the hands of foreign interests. This isn't just about money. It's about sovereignty. It's about accountability, and it's about who really runs this country. This isn't a left versus right issue. It's an American issue. It's time we demand that our elected officials serve us, the American people, and not foreign lobbyists or special interest groups. So, tell me, what do you think? Are you tired of being called names for wanting America to prioritize Americans? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to stay in the loop, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the truth. Let's get back our country right now.